I'm going to make a drawing of this self-portrait by Rembrandt. He looks quite old here already, and the light comes from the left. Very monumental self-portrait. And you see that on its forehead the light is lightest, and gradually it becomes darker when you get lower. There are deep shadows, so I think it's going to be an interesting drawing. I'm going to focus on the face. I just downloaded the painting from the internet and put it on my iPhone, so you can also print it, but to me at this moment this was more convenient. And I'm starting with hatchings of tonal values. Some draftsmen or painters are more inclined to use lines and to fill that up with light and dark, but some are more inclined to use tonal values to define forms, and both is possible. But I think that I think it's interesting now to use these hatchings. I'm using relatively rough paper. So I had a time that I wanted to use very smooth paper, and now I feel that I want to use this kind of paper, real sketching paper. You see me measuring sometimes when I do this, when I make this diagonal imaginary line. I'm not going to talk all the time, but whenever there's something I can say, it's interesting to give some sort of explanation of what I'm doing. But maybe I add a little bit of music or so to this video in the meantime. Now try to determine where the other eye should be. So I have this eye here, the nose, and I make this diagonal here. And I wonder if I put nose right. I think I should modify this, correct this a little bit. And now I have to see the other eye. Where is it? So I try to look at this diagonal from here and this from here. Well, if I get it wrong, I just draw over it. We'll see. Doesn't look right now. Oop. What I miss when I use very smooth paper is a certain warmth that this paper has. This is more with a structure, and it gives it something organic. So that's nice. And while I am drawing his mouth, I don't want a really straight line here. Well, there is a sort of line here, but it needs to be built up by accentuations more. This little line that I had drawn was a little bit too straight, so I made it less straight. And the face is getting more complete, but I don't see Rembrandt in it for now. So I need to work a bit more. This wrinkle here and this eye. And he looks a bit, I would say, impatient. He has this expression. If I was a bus driver and he is waiting for his ticket, I would think, oh, he's mad at me. He doesn't go fast enough. Of course, I am not a bus driver and he's not waiting for his ticket, but just to think a little bit about that. I still haven't got his character in my drawing. It's starting to worry me because I always feel that a good drawing needs to have a certain character quite fast from the beginning. If it's not from the beginning in there, it probably won't get in there in the end. I don't believe in that, so I hope it gets like Rembrandt soon. I'm drawing in the middle of the night. Maybe I'm not as sharp as I am, for example, in the afternoon or something, but I just give it a go. And I enjoy now to add these dark tonal values to the drawing. The point of my pencil has become quite blunt. So I need to take a sharp pencil. These wrinkles. I don't want to overdo it. Maybe I need to erase a little bit even. But anyway. And his character needs to be in this eye here especially, and nose and his mouth. This area needs to improve to get his character in there, but I'm actually enjoying doing the rest, like this area. Piece of clothing here, scholar, or what is it? Sometimes I need to search for the words because English is not my native, not language, not my mother tongue, so to speak. Well, he doesn't look very friendly in the drawing either, but he needs to look more like Rembrandt, and I'm going to take another pencil. I'm going to work on that eye now, and I need to take a picture here. And now I'm more concentrated on the eye itself and the other eye. Going to do something about the tonal values, because this is the lightest area, so I want everything else a bit darker than that. And this needs to be quite a bit darker. Need to get the form of that nose right. And I'm working on the form of this this eye socket, or that part, anyway. And I'm going to get a kneaded eraser because that eye needs to be adjusted a little bit. You can form that eraser in the desired shape. And the corner of his mouth is also quite typical. This area here. And now I think that the face is getting more convincing like him, although he looks a bit too young now. But the tonal values are a bit off here. I need to get this darker. And now I want to concentrate on this area, the lighted part of the face. I have zoomed out a little bit. And gradually I'm modifying all those tonal values. And this has to be lightest. This is a bit too bright now, so make it a little darker. I'm looking where the highlights need to be, but here this needs to be darker. Sometimes you see drawings in which every part of the face which is lighted has the white of the paper as a tonal value. So they leave the lightest part white, and it's dependent on your drawing style. It can work very well, but I feel that when you make a drawing like this, the drawing becomes more realistic when you get this, the tonal values right. But again, it's totally dependent on how you draw and what your aim is in that. I'm looking at his forehead. Where's this line? Where does it need to be? Because I had determined it's earlier here, but it needs to be a little higher, I think. So I'm going to modify that. I don't want to erase too much. I don't want to get too close to the border of the paper as well. And I'm concentrating on this part of the face. I like that the structure of the drawing reminds me a little bit of the structure of a painting. And with these tonal values, I try to approach it in a painterly way, almost. Anyway, so. And now I'm going to take this kneaded eraser and erase a bit. So when you are making a painting, you can also lighten certain things, and I want to try this with this as well. There are some spots that I find a bit too dark. So when you draw, don't be afraid to use this eraser to modify a drawing. Sometimes I don't like to erase, but sometimes it can add a certain painterly effect. Let's hope it does. I take another sharp pencil. And I think modifying this area can win some character. Sometimes you look over something which is very characteristic for someone, so this is such a thing, I think. Just a little accentuation here. And I'm slowly approaching the point that I say I leave it at this. I need to change a bit in that eye. If you have a favorite work by Rembrandt, let me know in the comments. Maybe I can draw something. There's something in that eye which is not good. Made this a bit too heavy. I think I need to stop soon because I'm starting to make things too heavy and correcting them, and that's usually a sign for me that I've done all I can to make it a nice drawing, and I should leave it at this, I think. I draw a little bit further with the tonal values. That's that. Mm. Mm-hmm. don't think I can make it better than this. I'm not totally convinced of the expression, but it's an interesting exercise, I think. I leave it at this.